This is the sound of
Not one, but two
outlaws and desperados.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, everybody. I am Kitty, and this is Bear.
Bear.
Do bears growl?
I think so. I would imagine. It depends. I mean, I suppose there's different kinds of growls for bears. Angry growls, happy growls. That was a happy growl.
That was a happy growl.
Yes.
Okay, so basically we're doing this podcast. It's a little mixed bag of things. It's called Lost Property, and it's going to be a weekly venture, and we're just going to be talking about a bit of everything, really. It'll be cover books, films, music, I imagine, at some point, and just generally everything, like a lost property bin where you just find some cool stuff and some weird stuff. That's what we're going to be like, and I think that's pretty much it.
So you claim to read a book a week, or you like to try at least read a book a week, like Finchy from The Office.
I felt really cringy when I said that, to be like, I read a book a week, and I'm not like Finchy at all. But yeah, I try to, just because I felt like after I left uni, like when you're in your final year, you're doing so much and your brain's always on the go.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just ended, and I just felt sometimes like my brain was slowly dying. So I thought, okay,
oh,
yeah, it's like
poor kitty brain.
It's not being used anymore. So it was just like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep now. So to stop that from happening, I thought I'm going to get back into my reading, and I thought I'll set myself a challenge, and I want to try and read 100 books this year.
Wow.
And I'm doing pretty well up to now. I think I'm up to 68, and I have till New Year's Eve basically to read 100 books. So I'm doing pretty well. I'm on track.
I was going to say, that sounds like you're well on track at 68 at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. So I read a book a week, and this week I was reading Eloise, which is by Judy Finnigan.
No way! Of Richard and Judy, of my boob popped out on TV. Judy Finnigan.
I'm going to keep fiddling with the necklace on my neck because I'm in need of a glass of wine right now, and there isn't one.
Judy the Fiddler Finnigan. You're reading the Fiddler's literature. I didn't know she wrote, because I know she did a book club with Richard, as well as like scamming people across the country with "You Say We Pay." Although other scamming competitions are available, I should point out. But I didn't know she actually wrote as well.
Yeah, I think her and Richard doing the book club, I thought, do you know what? I've read a lot of books. I can write a really good book that people will like love and enjoy. And no, it was kind of mediocre. It had the potential in areas to be quite a good book.
What's it about?
It's about a woman called Kathy and her friend, who the name of the book is Eloise. Eloise dies.
Spoilers.
And starts getting haunted, so to speak, by Eloise, warning her about her children being in danger and that she needs to try and stop it and not to trust him, which turns out to be Eloise's husband. And I don't know, it had, like I said, it had the potential to be quite a good book. The setting for the whole book is in Cornwall, and Cornwall's a really, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a really beautiful, picturesque place. But there's kind of like a feeling in the air, like it's a really old place and it's seen a lot of history, and some of the elements she was trying to bring into it had the potential to work because of the setting.
Mm-hmm.
But her knowledge of Cornwall just made it feel like a tourist guide at times. She just kept referring to the same places.
Oh dear.
I was 20 pages in when she first mentioned wine, and I was a bit like, oh, Judy, really? We know you like to drink. But
is she a bit of a wine hound? I didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, didn't her? I think Richard like stole wine from Tesco, or they took wine out that they didn't pay for.
No way.
Sure, that's what happened like not too long ago. They forgot to pay for some wine, which is a bit naff, because you just think, really, you probably have more money than the average Joe on the street.
Yeah.
I'm sure afford a couple of quid for a bottle of wine. But yeah, 20 pages in, she mentions wine straight away, and then it's pretty much an underlying theme throughout. But
maybe she was just jonesing for some wine and it just took over a creative flow. It's just like, red, Richard, red, big glass of red. Oh. And starts pulling her hair out, and then he has to come and supplement her with a big glass of red to get her back on track.
That's definitely what it felt like at times. And there's some great references in the book about classic literature. So she mentions Wuthering Heights and she mentions Rebecca, both books that have hauntings in them. And at first you think it's going to be a really good read with like gothic horror elements to it, but really it's just very mediocre. Some of the conversation's really amateur, and do you know when you're a kid and you're playing in a playground and you're like, oh yeah, and then this happens, and then he'll come in and he will say this, and then this will be the end. That's kind of what it felt like at times. Like she was just trying to rush it out so she could get the next glass of wine.
Oh man.
And then the ending was kind of like an anticlimax, so I was expecting it to be so much more than it was, and the ending kind of felt a bit deflated. And I'm going to read a small section of dialogue here.
Oh, please do.
It was just right. Before I must tell you that, and so spoiler alert if you're going to read Eloise, which I recommend you don't. But if you're going to read it, I'm just going to let you know the basic character of Eloise when she was 13. Got pregnant with a baby, had the baby, and then adopted it and gave it to the mother and father of the boy she got pregnant to.
Okay.
And her baby went on to have a son of her own. So really, when Eloise died, she was a grandmother, but she didn't realise. And she ended up having 2 other children to this man. Later on, he came back to Cornwall from Australia, which he'd emigrated to. And she had a one-night stand with him and then got pregnant and had 2 babies.
So there's a lot of babies going on. There's a lot of
babies and a lot of wine, and I think those two kind of go hand in hand sometimes.
Well, yeah, but, you know... What, you're putting wine in the baby's bottle?
Well,
maybe that's what happened to Judy. Maybe that's where it all began. Maybe someone just stuck a Merlot inside of a baby bottle and went, here, shut up, baby, suck on this. And then...
Suck on this.
It's the voice of Judy Finnigan's neglectful parents. Oi, baby, shut up, suck on this. No, drink the wine, go to sleep.
So basically, this dialogue is between Eloise's 2 little girls with the man who is their real father, but they don't know this. And these kids are only like about 4 in the book, so they're not teenagers. So so this is this is just, I just found this bit really just cheesy and a bit. I felt like vomiting a little bit, and I think it was actually a bit sick in my mouth. So yeah, here it goes. Then Rose spoke shyly. Jack, do you mind if I call you Daddy? Me too, Violet pipped. There was a small silence. Juliana held her handkerchief to her eyes. Jack's voice was thick with emotion. Of course you can call me Daddy. I'd be delighted if you called me Daddy. He took their hands and they walked down the path towards the lift gate. Juliana followed. I glanced at Chris. I could tell he was moved. I love you, Kathy. I'm sorry for all the nonsense I've put you through this summer. I don't know what I was thinking. I love you too, Chris. Everything's all right now. And that's it. I actually can't read anymore. But that gives you a general...
And that's pretty much a good sort of example of the rest of the book.
Yes, pretty much. And I just felt like I'd wasted 2 days of my life.
Well, at least it only took you 2 days.
Yeah, but in 2 days I could have been doing something else or reading something better. But yeah, it was just a bit mediocre and a bit amateur, and I can't slate it fully because it had potential to be good, but it kind of fell flat. So I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which I think is pretty fair.
That's not bad.
You know,
that's
so,
it could be a lot worse. I'm I'm reeling over the idea that Judy Finnigan wrote something that's really quite dark and melancholic and somber. It sounds like the wine's taken her to a real dark place.
Well, Richard's written a book as well, apparently.
Oh, I bet his is awesome. I bet his is about like a secret agent in Colombia who just like snorts cocaine off machetes and kills natives with like laser guns.
And he's probably called Dick Madeley.
Oh
And then-
my god, that would be amazing. Dick Madeley, made for killing.
And he'll be like, no. It's his book's called Someday I'll Find You. And
do you know what his book's about?
the blurb describes it as James Blackwell is a sexy and handsome and a fighter pilot.
Oh, of course he is.
Dream partner. At least that's what Diana Arnold thinks when her brother first introduces them. Before long they are in love and marry hastily just as war is declared. Then fate delivers what is the first of its cruel twists. James, the day of their wedding, is shot down over northern France and killed. Diana is left not only a widow but pregnant with their child. 10 years later, contentedly remarried, Diana finds herself in the south of France, sitting one morning in a sunny village square. A taxi draws up and she hears the voice of a man speaking English, the unmistakable voice of someone who will set out to torment her and blackmail her, and from whom there can only be one means of escape.
What is going on in their house? Because that sounds pretty twisted as well. Like, seriously, is the Madeley house like a dungeon of just dark thoughts? It's like, Judy, you do the ghost one, and I'll do the one about the blackmail and the murdering and the betrayal. And then when we're done, I want to do Dick Madeley, secret agent, made for killing. Dick Madeley quaffing champagne, left, right, and everywhere he can. That sounds amazing. I think that's what you should read for next week. I think you should read Richard's book.
I think I should not read that next week. I think I should read something else. And actually, I kind of want your opinion on this. There's two books I'm really torn between reading.
Oh, awesome. Do we get to choose which one you get to read?
I think that would be really good, actually, because I am in the middle of reading a book on my Kindle at the moment. So I try and... So I have a Kindle.
Yes.
And I try and read, I'll just... Any free book I pretty much download and I'll read. And if there's one that interests me through the blurb, I'll get that one and I'll read it. So usually I try and read a paperback and then a Kindle book, so that I'm still supporting the paperback industry, by the way.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So this week's paperback choices are Penelope by Rebecca Harrington, which is basically about a girl who goes off to university and she feels that she can't really connect with anyone because she feels that she might be a bit different.
A bit posh, with a name like Penelope.
And she...
When I walked into my common room on my horse, and everyone looked at me funny.
Well, basically, that's one book. And then the other book is called Our Spoons Came from Woolworths, which is set in the 1930s. So I think people should help me decide which one I read, and whichever one people decide I should read, that's the one I will read. Okay,
I think that's pretty good. Do we have any more of a synopsis for Spoons Come from Woolworths?
It's about a 21-year-old woman who gets married to a young painter, and she feels ill-equipped to be living in bohemian London during the 1930s, where there's poverty and babies, and she feels that her husband's conspiring to torment her a little bit.
Because poverty and babies go hand in hand. See, it's a common misconception that it was rats that started the bubonic plague, but really it was infected babies biting people in the streets of London at night. In fact, there's a widely concepted idea that Jack the Ripper was in fact a baby. Baby of Whitehall. I think that's an awesome idea, and I think listeners should let us know which one to go for. I would go with Penelope because I want to know what the adventures of a posh lady on a pony is all about. I walked into the common room on my horse and everyone was, oh, Penelope, you're awfully posh and different. That's because I'm really a man.
That would be interesting.
And how can people get in touch with us to let us know which book to go for?
I think they should tweet us on our Twitter page.
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting.
And what is that Twitter page? Do you know?
Our Twitter page is at Lost Property Pod.
That's great. As is lostpropertypod.tumblr.com. Keeping it all connected and simple.
Let us go.
Yeah.
We're like a little...
Like little Rupert Murdochs.
We're like, yeah.
Without the phone tapping.
Doing very strange with my hands, but I realise that you can't see me, so it's pointless me doing this.
Kind of, I think you're only really amusing yourself over there with your bizarre hand gestures. But at least you're keeping yourself happy. That's the main thing.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say.
Oh. Can you hear the ice cream man?
I was gonna say, is that an ice cream van?
It is, and you know what the funny thing is? It's been raining all day, so he's clearly very ambitious. Or stupid. Or both.
I think they're all a little bit imbalanced.
I think you have to be of a mindset to drive around in an ice cream van as a living. I'm sure it's pretty fun, but you kind of have to have a certain mental state. Possibly a crazy one.
So, Mr. What do you want to talk about now?
Well, I've got a bunch of things written down that has been sort of going on this week. I suppose we could go through a couple of them. The first thing I got on my notes is everyone's favourite twerker. Because, like, here's the thing. Did you know what twerking was before Miley Cyrus?
No, I did. I'd heard of the word twerking.
Yes.
And I know that Nicki Minaj twerks sometimes, but I just thought that was
just a bit of casual twerking.
I just thought it was just people being douchebags, which it turns out that's much what it is.
Yeah, kind of. For those who are, well, I suppose everyone in the world knows what twerking is now because it's just been unavoidable. It's stripper dancing, essentially. It's a big thing in the sort of urban hip hop community, as it were. But Miley Cyrus, yes, she of achy breaky heart, Billy Ray Cyrus. Who'd have thought that? Who'd have thought from achy breaky heart would have came the seed, which eventually would have been Miley Cyrus. She's in my notes this week because she set the record for the most views in 24 hours of a music video for Vivo this week. 19 million views. 19 million views.
Is this because of Wrecking Ball?
Yeah, this is the Wrecking Ball video. Have you seen the video?
Sadly, yes, because it was it's all anyone was talking about at work. Mostly, I'll admit, it was the guys because they were just perving on Miley Cyrus. But no, I couldn't tell whether the video was serious or whether she was joking because I just found myself cringing and laughing because it just seemed a bit melodramatic.
Well, frankly, it's horrendous. I'll just, I'm very blunt with my opinions. Something you should probably get used to, listeners. Bear is very blunt with his opinions. The video is just, it's horrendous. And part of me thinks she is taking it very seriously. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, but don't you see the art in it, the hidden meaning, she's stripped naked from her relationship and she's breaking down barriers. I'm like, no, she's naked on a wrecking ball. And that's about it. And then she's the bit that puzzles me most of all is the sledgehammer. I don't understand why she's licking a sledgehammer, and I still
she's pretty much performing like fellatio on it.
On a sledgehammer of all things as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, it's funny you should say like people were saying, oh, it's art and all this kind of stuff. Because I was reading some YouTube comments, and to be honest, I could spend my whole entire day reading YouTube comments because it's where I see some of the weirdest shit, and I just find it hilarious. Like the things that people think they can genuinely get away with saying on there. But someone was like, "Oh no, she's just making a parody of people who do behave like this in a music video." And I just thought, well, no, she's not, because if she was, would she have put that music video with something which she's hoping will convey emotion to people? the only time I've ever known like people parodying anything in the music videos is the time Blink-182 did it for All the Small Things, or Bowling for Soup did it with their The Girl All the Bad Guys Want music video. They like took the mickey out of a lot of well-known like music videos that were around at the time. And if it is that she's trying to make a joke of people like Rihanna or Beyonce and the way they behave in their music videos, then she's not gone about it in the right way at all. And perhaps someone needs to teach her what sarcasm or humour is, because it just seems like she just thought, do you know what, my song's called Wrecking Ball, so I'm gonna give a blowjob to a sledgehammer and climb naked on a wrecking ball and price around in the rubble.
Yeah, no, I think all sense of irony is lost on her. I don't think she's going for any sort of parody or sort of cheeky homage. I think it's just literally, it's a marketing ploy. She obviously got people's attention the other week with the VMA performance. Did you see that by any chance?
Yes, I did, and I wanted to gouge my eyes out straight up.
I think she's basically just gone, oh, you know what? People seem to have been talking about that. Let's do something else. And it just seems so perfectly timed that it just doesn't seem coincidental. And it's kind of sad, and it's like, well, really, is this how we're having to make a spike in your career appear? It seems really sad. It's really, really sad, because from a music point of view, I don't like the song. That's not what I'm going to say, don't worry. But this year has been a fantastic year for female artists. In fact, like, most of my top 20 albums for this year, a big chunk of them either are female-orientated or female-led. And not a single one of them are having to use shock tactics. And it just seems so outdated, and it seems so old, and it's just, it's weird, because it's like you can flip it on the other side as well, because I've seen the video, I've been avoiding it for so long, but I've seen the video for Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines this week, and that is just horrendous, and it's really icky, and it's got a real kind of rapey sex pest vibe to it.
It does have a rapey sex like feel to it. It's just wrong. I just despair, because I don't know who to. I just don't know how to feel. I don't know whether I should question the sanity of the people who actually watch and listen to those things and actually take enjoyment from them, or whether I should worry about the people who actually make and record those kind of things, and the fact that they get enjoyment from it, because both parties are as bad as each other.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think they both kind of. Like you say, they're both as bad as each other, but it's sad, you know, the fact that you have to use tactics like that to actually make a spike in your career, and you don't have to. That's the thing, you know, because as I said, there's testament this year alone to plenty of people that have done fantastically well without having to do that. It's just kind of sad, and it seems a bit outdated. Kind of feels like we should have maybe moved past this by now.
Exactly. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm living in like the 60s with like nudity and free flower power and sex everywhere. It's just, I don't know. I think I'm quite old-fashioned in that way. I've always listened to like I'm really into old musicians. I love people like Billie Holiday and Etta James and Sam Cooke and people like this, and they never had to resort to pretty much getting naked and getting the bodies out.
Billie Holiday flashing her knickers behind the piano.
Well, exactly. It's just, I mean, I know they were from like years and years ago, like from the 40s and the 50s and whatnot, but it just seems really sad that's, I mean, look at Kate Bush, for example. I adore Kate Bush. She's probably one of the most like female vocalists who I just admire her. She can hit any note and make it sound fantastic. And to my knowledge, she never had to gyrate or get her boobs out or just make herself this sexualized object to sell records, because she just had to rely on her vocals to sell records. And it just seems that doesn't happen a lot nowadays. And like you said, it's a shame, because there are people out there who are coming up who have brilliant vocal talent, who probably don't get the recognition they deserve, because there are people like Miley Cyrus who have mediocre recording voices, but because they choose to market themselves in such a way, they get more attention and they get more. I don't know if credibility is the right word, but they just seem to get more praise and recognition over someone who.
They get more eyes on them and they get more mouths talking about them, unfortunately, because of it.
But then in a way, the flip side of that is I suppose those people who don't go about things that way probably don't want that kind of recognition. They don't want to be known for that kind of thing. They're going a credible way. So I think in one way, whilst it's sad that they probably don't get as many hits on YouTube or they don't get as much publicity, they're probably relieved about that they're getting the right type of publicity as opposed to the wrong kind of publicity.
That's true. And I mean, you've got to look at length of career, because the thing is, with antics like that and sort of marketing tactics, yeah, you're going to be hot for a minute, but how long is that going to last? You've seen it happen so many times before, and people just kind of fizzle out. Whereas, I think if you take a more credible route, then you've got more chance of having a sort of longer lasting period, even if it's maybe not as bright as some of the flash in the pan artists, as you see. But yeah, oh, Miley with a crazy tongue. What is with the tongue? Because it kind of looks. I've come to the conclusion. I don't know why people are perving on the video, because I don't find her attractive at all. I don't find that whole thing sexy. It's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest. It's kind of like watching Peter Pan do bath salts. And just kind of freak out. Remember last year, I think it was, there was a story of the guy in Miami who did bath salts and tried to bite someone's face off. I've come to the conclusion that maybe Miley Cyrus is trying to gnaw her own face off, and that's what the tongue's about. It's like, I can't quite reach my face.
Maybe she's just trying to master that skill that everyone thought they could do as a 5-year-old, where if you can stick your tongue out far and reach your own ear. I don't know. Maybe that's top of Miley's list of things to achieve this year. Make my tongue touch my ear.
It's maybe on her bucket list.
Probably. Along with riding naked on a wrecking ball.
Oh man, she's ticking them all off at this rate. Outside of Miley Cyrus and her sledgehammer fellatio, which could very well be a show title for this first episode. Other news that I've got on my list of notes is something that you would be quite interested in, I believe. Because I do believe that you're just somewhat slight of a kind of Harry Potter fan, so I don't know if you're interested in this. We can always skip past it if you're not.
I don't think we should skip past it.
J.K. Rowling is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know an awful lot about the situation in the news, but from what I gathered, she is being brought on to write a screenplay for a film called something like Magnificent Beasts and Where to Find Them, I think it's called, and it's a spin-off based off like a textbook that's featured in Hogwarts.
Yes, it's I'm actually really happy about this, because today I have to share with everyone, I actually went out today and got a Harry Potter tattoo.
Oh, awesome, really?
It's been a long time coming. I read the first book when I was 11, and I've just followed it all the way through, and I thought today has to be the day. I think it was maybe the recent news, but I thought, you know what, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a little Harry Potter tattoo. So sure enough, I've gone out today. I've had Harry Potter's glasses and a little lightning bolt tattooed on my wrist, and it's very cute and I very much love it.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm very happy, but yes, she did all the Harry Potter books.
Mm-hmm.
And there's books within the Harry Potter books that are mentioned that they use for their studies, and she actually wrote these books and used most of the proceeds to give towards comic relief. So she wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is what she's scripting. She did Quidditch Through the Ages, and she also did Tales of Beedle the Bard. At the moment, from what I've read online, there's going to be a series of these films. So whether she's just going to focus it on the one book, I'm not sure, or whether she's going to bring in elements of the other two. But I am really excited about it. Obviously, Harry Potter was the largest grossing franchise in film history. So I think it's I don't know. I am really excited because I've read everything that she's written, with the exception of The Cuckoo's Call, in which she wrote under the pseudonym of another name. But that is on my list of things to read. And everything she's written, I have enjoyed thoroughly. So I think the screenplay will be fine. I don't think people have to worry about the quality of writing or anything. I think we can depend on her enough as a fan base, to know that the writing isn't going to be disappointing. However, when she released The Casual Vacancy, which was obviously her transition from Harry Potter to an adult book, didn't get necessarily a lot of positive feedback from Harry Potter fans. Like, it makes me feel a bit sad to say this, but there are some Harry Potter fans out there who think that that's the be all and end all, and she couldn't possibly write anything else. And they seemed really confused when they read Casual Vacancy, that it didn't have Harry Potter in it, or Hermione, or
it's got no
Ron.
magic in it. Where's my magic?
And it really quite upset me, because I just thought she said on numerous occasions that this was going to be nothing like Harry Potter. It was going to be an adult book. It was going to deal with themes that you didn't see in Harry Potter, and it was a fantastic book. It was quite dark, actually. It dealt with things such as,
she's been writing with Judy Finnigan.
Maybe she's been having a couple of wines with her. You never know.
Maybe. Hey Judy, I've got this idea. It's for an adult book, and Judy gets interested because she thinks it's like a sexy book. It's like, no, Judy, not that kind of adult book.
And then Judy gets really sad and drinks a bottle of wine.
She's like, are you going to finish that? No, okay, I'll have it. I'll put it in my baby's bottle.
But this book, I'm hoping all those people who didn't enjoy The Casual Vacancy, I think this will bring them back out of the woodwork and get them excited again. The only thing I'm worried about is, obviously, because the Harry Potter series was so popular and it's so well known and so well loved, I think that people with this will hype it up a lot, and if it doesn't turn out how they expect it to be, I think they'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I think that is. There's always initially going to be a certain set amount of people that will be disappointed with it. I think that's inevitable because of how well the actual franchise has done and how well it came across, because I'm not a fan, but it seems that a lot of people were really happy with the way that the whole thing came together and the way that it ended, and as a whole it seems people have really, really loved what's come before. So I think inevitably there's going to be an amount of people that's disappointed, but it's something different, and it seems pretty good. And although I'm not a fan, I do respect the woman and her ability for detail, because to write extra books based within a book, that's kind of talent, like you read about. And I think people should just kind of maybe calm down and wait for it to come out and see how it does. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think we've got anything to worry about in regards to the storyline and the plot, because she's proven herself to be a very successful writer, a successful author. She was, I think, in my own personal opinion, until J.K. Rowling came along and wrote the Harry Potter books, there hadn't been really an author of children's literature who'd interested children on the scale she did since maybe Roald Dahl.
Good point.
And I think she really, really got children back into literature and back into reading, and her books had that same kind of magic element to them. Aside from the whole magical aspect of the books themselves, I think she actually brought that magic back into book reading that I'd only ever previously experienced with Roald Dahl, and he had this ability to just take something so simple as a normal everyday story and turn it into something that was magical and different, and just helped you escape to this different place and believe that the impossible, you could achieve the impossible, and you could be anything and do anything you wanted to do. And I just think, I think it's going to be interesting. There's certainly a lot of stories she could look into. I'm really interested to see how it translates from book to screen. I'm really interested to see if she's got anyone in mind for cast, because obviously when she was doing the Harry Potter books and it was first announced they were going to be made into film, she said she already had people in mind for certain roles, such as all trained for Hagrid. She saw it being a very British cast, and I'm really interested to see if she's got anyone in mind for this film, and if she has, who are they? And I'm really excited about seeing how it conveys onto the big screen.
I think it's really, from a non-fan's perspective, I think it's interesting to see her go into that industry, because she has got a lot of imagination and she's got an incredible eye for detail. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of this, but also what kind of comes afterwards, because I think she could potentially be a really good writer of films, of independent films, free from stuff she's done in the past. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting place for her to start, and yeah, I thought you'd be a little bit excited to hear about that.
I am very excited. I was in work when I actually heard the news, and I'm not gonna lie, I can be quite emotional, especially now I'm a bit older. I don't know whether it's because of my hormones, but I must say I'm only 28. I'm not that old, but yeah. But when I was at work, it took me a lot to not actually cry with happiness. So excited. Plus, as well, I don't know how true this story is, but it always gives me great joy, because if there's one thing I hate with so much passion and venom, it is the Twilight series. And one of my favourite ever things I've ever heard, and I don't know how true this is. It could be one of those things that starts on the internet started on the internet by fans and doesn't have any truth at all. But apparently, at a conference, Stephanie Meyer, who wrote the Twilight books, said, "The god of writing sent me to Earth to show people how to write." And apparently, when J.K. Rowling heard this, she looked at the ground puzzled and said, "I didn't send anyone."
And
I
snap!
just think that's amazing. I just think it's amazing. And can I also say as well?
You can say whatever you want.
People who hate on J.K. Rowling and just say, "Oh, she's crap," and all this kind of stuff. She actually had to. I don't know what the word is. I'll just say give up. She actually had to give up her status of a billionaire because she donated that much money to charity.
Wow.
So, when people say, "Oh, she's crap," or "Oh, she's just milking it now," she might be milking it to some people, but you can guarantee that as much money as she makes, she will give back to charity.
That's pretty awesome.
So she's talented and she's kind, and I just love her to pieces. And I'm very excited. No.
We better move on before your hormones take over.
I know, you're going to get me crying.
Oh dear. Keeping in the realm of sort of films, another thing that I put in my notes is something that's kind of happened over the last couple of weeks. It's not particularly exclusive to this week, but something that I find interesting, and it maybe kind of ties into where we've been talking about people just basically saying there's a weird anonymity with the internet, and it kind of feels like with certain fandoms and certain sort of franchise followings, people have a certain sense of entitlement. And recently, as you probably know, Ben Affleck was cast as Batman in what is currently being banded as Batman vs Superman, which I really hope is not the name of the film, because that would be awful. But he has been officially signed on to play Batman, and everyone kind of went apeshit and went, "Oh no, this is awful, we can't have Batfleck." And just kind of tearing their hair out and starting up petitions over at change.org to get Warner Brothers to change their mind and recast the role. And something else has happened quite similar with the casting of 50 Shades of Grey, which I know that you're not a fan of, from you from what little you know, and wisely have chosen to ignore most of it. But you might be interested, or it might fuel your dislike for it even more, to know that 50 Shades of Grey started off as Twilight fan fiction.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Between Bella and Mopey Face, whatever his name is, Sparkly Man.
He looks like a foot, and she just looks like a scrotum.
Foot and scrotum. That was the original title for 50 Shades of Grey. Foot and scrotum.
I actually read the first Twilight book because I'm not one of these people who will slag something off until I've, until I've at least looked into it a bit more. And my cousin, she was like, oh, just read the first one. So I was like, okay, I'll read the first one. And I spent most of the time laughing and actually going, oh, this will happen next. This will happen next. And then everything I predicted would happen happened. It was just so obvious, the storyline. And it was, again, it felt kind of like Eloise. It felt like I was stood in the playground with a bunch of 12-year-olds and we were just making stories as we went along, and we got really excited about the ending and, oh my God, this is going to happen, and then this happens, and then he says this, and then she says that, and oh my God, ha ha ha. No, it was awful. And I watched the first half an hour of the first film and I had to turn it off because I just couldn't stand it anymore.
See, that's why Kitty's smart, because she decides to turn it off after half an hour. Seeing as you're being brave and admitting you read the first book, I will also admit that I, like you, and you encapsulated it brilliantly, because it's one thing to stand there and say, oh, I really don't like something, and you've never even tried to sample a little bit of it, you've never given it a go. I'm very much of the same mindset, so I did read it begrudgingly in big chunks over time. All the way through, and I still stand to this day saying it's one of the worst books I've ever read, just in terms of how poorly written it is. But, I didn't do the smart thing like you. I actually watched the film in full, and then I watched the second film, and I even watched the third film. I don't know why.
It's probably morbid fascinating. It's like morbid curiosity, isn't it? You just want to see if it get any better or it'll improve, and it doesn't, and you just... Yeah, then you just feel a brain cell die.
Yeah, or several all at once. But yeah, 50 Shades of Grey started life as a Twilight fan fiction, but there's been a lot of sort of casting backlash with that, because Charlie Hunnam, who you may or may not know from Sons of Anarchy, I don't know if you've watched, because you have strange TV habits, which I wanted to address on this episode. Because you won't watch Game of Thrones, even though it's amazing. It's too porny for you, apparently.
Porny. My friend posted a link and I clicked on it and it was basically just like
ye old medieval porn.
Lesbian medieval porn, and I was just like, I just, yeah.
And what's the problem with that? Where's the fault in that?
It just doesn't appeal to me.
Oh man, it's amazing. There's dragons and there's swords and there's fighting and there's betrayal and there's a dwarf and there's a guy called Hodor who can only ever say Hodor and is told at one point to stop Hodoring. It's amazing. Like I don't read a book a week, certainly, and I don't even know if I've read 68 books in my life. But I am kind of going through the Game of Thrones books at the minute, and they're amazing. But the show is amazing. But you have weird TV habits. So this is going totally off a tangent because you like Downton Abbey, don't you?
Do not slate. Have you ever watched Downton Abbey?
No, but it just looks really awful. It looks like lots of all the poor people down in the bottom floor, and all the nice, rich, posh people up on the top. Serve us Ferrero Rocher and get Judy Finnigan to bring us the Merlot. What?
Honestly, I can assure you, it is nothing like that. It's because you get involved in all these storylines that are going on, and yes, you do have the people who are downstairs who are the servants.
Get in the basement, you dogs.
But no, there's so much. I don't know. I think it's. I blame my mother mostly because when I was growing up, she used to watch all these period dramas on TV, and they fascinated me for some reason. They just had something about me for me. I just found them romantic and scandalous. And Downton Abbey, honestly, I'm really fortunate because of where I work. I got to see a spoiler of season 4 before the actual official trailer was launched, and I was just gripped instantly. I adore it. I absolutely love it. I have the box set. I just love it. But how does that make me have weird TV habit?
I don't know.
Game of Thrones, but I watched Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
I'd say it's more about taste and having different tastes.
And I just equate it to weird TV habits. Yeah, I think it's strange because you're a fan of The Walking Dead as well, aren't you?
I absolutely love The Walking Dead.
And yet you love Downton Abbey as well, and it's like you would never really equate the two of them going together. It's really weird.
I love The Walking Dead because it when someone says to me, "Oh, is it about zombies?" Well, yeah, zombies are in The Walking Dead, obviously,
Yes.
but it's more about the story of survival, and there's all these little storylines going on underneath, and it's just. Have you watched any of it? Have you watched any of it, Bear?
Yes, I love it. I love the show.
Good. Yeah. Oh, because I didn't know whether you'd watched it or not, and I was just wondering.
Oh no, I love the show. I've read the books, like about halfway through the comic series as well. So, which is great because if you love the show, you should read the comics as well because there's a lot of stuff in the show in the books, but it also takes different paths and characters that you're now seeing in the show have been in the books earlier, and vice versa. Like the placement of stuff is different and it takes different paths, so it's not like you're spoiling an awful lot because it does deviate quite a bit. But yeah, no, it's awesome. But I just find it weird that you like The Walking Dead and Downton Abbey.
Do you know what would be the best thing ever? Is if,
Zombies in Downton Abbey.
yeah, basically.
Get this riffraff away from the lawn! They're eating brains! Close the toilet doors. Everybody in.
Laughing at this, but someone somewhere is thinking, I'm going to make Downton Abbey into The Walking Dead and combine the best of both worlds.
You do know there's Pride and Prejudice with zombies.
Yeah, I've not got around to reading it yet, but one of my friends told me I'd really like it. But yeah, I do have weird TV habits. Like I'll watch things that haven't been on TV for like 6 years, and then I'll finally discover them and be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And everyone's like, "Yeah, I watched it 10 years ago," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay."
I have to ask. Do you? I probably already know the answer to this. Then I'm probably going to be disappointed, but I'll ask anyway. Do you watch Breaking Bad?
No.
Oh, you're crazy.
It's not because I don't want to. And again, it's like at work, it's all anyone who's talking about at the moment. Everyone's really up to date with it at work, and everyone's watched the latest episodes, and they're going on about how gripping it is and how fantastic it is. And I really, really want to watch it. It's on my list of things to watch, but at the moment, I'm just working through the US office. So once I've finished that, I'm not too far from the end of season 4 now. So once I finish the US office, that's the thing I'm going to watch next.
You should, because it's honestly, I say this with true earnest, because for years and years, my favourite thing that ever appeared on TV in the history of moving images was the HBO series The Wire. And for so long, that was at my number one spot. And for so long, I thought, there is never, ever going to be anything that can knock that off. And I think pretty much Breaking Bad has just about done it. So for me, it's like the best thing in the world ever.
Well, I can't wait to start watching it because I've heard so many good things about it. And fortunately, no one has said anything yet that's spoiled anything
good
for me. So I'm feeling quite glad about that because I don't want to watch something that's already been spoiled.
That you're already waiting for something to happen. Yeah, there's nothing worse.
So I'm really looking forward to starting watching that. I have been watching. I don't know if you've been watching it or are you familiar with it, but there's been a series that started on Channel 5 about 3 weeks ago called Under the Dome.
Is this Steven Spielberg thing?
Yeah, it's Stephen King. It's based on a Stephen King.
Yeah.
And I actually have to say, up to now, it's quite interesting. It nothing majorly fantastic has happened. There's not been like any big massive cliffhanger moments, but it's kind of lulling me in slowly, like something. It's just intriguing. I really want to know what's going on, and check it out if you've not watched it. It should be on like Catch Up or something like that, but check it out because I don't know where it's going to go. I hope it doesn't go down the route of being too weird or too cheesy or too unbelievable. But yeah, that's.
Because I've seen the name float about, but I haven't heard anyone actually who's seen it yet, so I might just have to investigate with that one.
I think you should, Bear. I think you'd like it.
Oh, excellent. Anyway, we're going totally off track from what I was talking about. I was on about 50 Shades of Grey, which, obviously I'm expecting to be in your 100 books before the end of the year.
Okay.
What's really quite sad is I think there's like another 2 or 3 sequels after it.
Oh God.
Where I work, we sell an audiobook version of it, and I haven't listened. Yeah, where I work, we stock the audiobook version of it. And I kind of wonder who actually narrates the book, because I think it's a certain choice. But one thing that kind of came up in my head was Charlie Dunham, or Charlie Hunnam even, who is playing the male lead, is from Newcastle, and I kind of hope that he gets to keep his Newcastle accent and say some of the dialogue in it. And as a little treat, yes, if you could call it that, I've got some of the, according to BuzzFeed.com, I've got some of the worst quotes from 50 Shades of Grey. So this is, like, you gave us a little sample of Judy Finnigan. I'm returning the favour by giving you a little sample of E.L. James's masterpiece.
Okay, I'm excited.
And I'm going to do it in my Charlie Hunnam Geordie voice to just kind of sell the idea of how amazing that film would be if he keeps his regional accent. You should bear in mind that there's some adult language coming up, so if you've got sensitive ears, you should maybe cover them up with mittens or soft cotton wool. I'd like to bite that lip, he whispers darkly. Jeez, I'm a quivering moist mess, and he hasn't even touched me. I squirm in me seat and meet his dark glare.
Oh!
Suck me, baby. His thumb presses on me tongue, and my mouth closes round him, sucking wildly. Holy shit, this is wrong, but holy hell, it's erotic. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I had no idea giving pleasure could be such a turn on, watching him writhe subtly with carnal longing. Me and a goddess is doing the merengue with some salsa moves.
Oh.
And that's just a quick example. I'll put a link in the show notes at lostpropertypod.tumblr.com for the rest, but that's just a slight sliver of some of the terrible writing in that book and what you can expect when the movie version hits the big screens.
I'm going to sound really, like, horrible now, and I'm going to sound like ageist, but I kind of don't want to read it because the only people I see reading it are really, like
middle-aged to older ladies.
Middle-aged women who look like they're on the menopause and have a bit of middle-age spread, and it kind of grosses me out, the fact that they'll be sat on a like on the bus or the train, and they'll be reading it and they'll be creaming themselves over it. It makes me feel really uncomfortable and a little bit sick.
Well, just imagine this. You're on the bus.
Okay.
And someone's got their Kindle on the bus, and they could be reading anything. They could be reading through Financial Times. They could be reading through Richard Attenborough's biography. They could be reading through anything. But really, they're reading through E.L. James's 50 Shades of Grey, and you just see an intense glare in their eyes as their face catches the screen whilst reading the following sentence. I close my eyes, feeling the build-up, pushing me higher, higher to the castle in the air.
Oh, that is just... that's just like a block of cheese in words.
Oh, I know. It's... yeesh. It's certainly something. But yeah, as I said, I won't read through all of them because I think I might actually just be sick all over my keyboard. But I will put the link in the show notes.
As a proper film, or is this just is this like a joke film? Is it going to be funny, or are they actually going to try and market it as a proper...
No, as far as I know, the route they're going is that they're trying to go for, from what I gather, they're trying to go for like a sexy thriller, kind of like a Brian De Palma film. Like, it's sexy, and it's kind of upper class, and it's kind of menacing almost. It's kind of like sexy with a dark streak to it. I think that's what they're trying to go for. But if they're going to lift dialogue from the actual book, how are people supposed to take it seriously?
Oh, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, neither do I. It is... it's weird. It's all over the place. But as I say, I'll put the link in lostpropertypod.tumblr.com if you want to check out some of the worst ones, because those aren't even the worst selections.
Oh, God.
But yeah, there you go. I've only got one more bit left on my news notes things.
Oh, okay.
Unless you've got anything that you've got written that you want to throw in.
No, I was just actually thinking, do we even know who E.L. James is, and what do they look like? Is it a man or a woman who wrote?
It's a woman.
Oh, I'm going to have to just